Bhagavad Gita is a book of mankind's collected experience of and answers to life's most basic questions. Who I am, from where do I come, what is my purpose and destiny, and most practically, how do I find happiness? These podcasts originate in the lectures of Neil Bhatt, a disciple of Swami Chinmayananda. They are presented here in 20 to 30-minute segments, each covering 3 of the Gita's 701 verses. Welcome to Gita Wisdom for Daily Living.
So we have been discussing chapter 9, Rajavidya Rajaguhya Yoga, yoga of royal knowledge and royal secret. And we have discussed many times before that this royal knowledge is about your true self. That's the knowledge which is also called Brahma Vidya. And the royal secret is, even though the self is so close to us, myself cannot be further away from me, but it is very difficult to realize. So that's the secret. Secret is something very close to us, but we fail to recognize it. That's the secret. So we have been discussing in this chapter what is the nature of the self and how pervading it is, that this self is all pervading everywhere. And it is of a nature of Satchit Ananda, as we have learned in Vedanta. It is nature of ever existing, all-knowing, and ever blissful. But none of these qualities I recognize in my own self, because I consider myself to be the limited self. I consider myself to be confined to these limitations of body, mind, and intellect. Limited by my body and its capabilities, limited by my mind and its vagaries, and also limited by my intellect and its knowledge. However, Bhagavan said, as the self, which is all pervading, it has no limitations. So all our life we had been seeking unlimited happiness, everlasting bliss. But we are not achieving it. Why we are not achieving it? Bhagavan described in last 3 verses saying, because we have set our goals so narrow that we are only achieving those goals. So in verse 25, we have seen that Yanti deva vrata devan pitru yanti pitru vrataha bhutani yanti bhutejya. Whoever set whatever goal, he or she achieves that goal. It is something like all these passengers coming to the airport. While they're passing through the main hall and through the security gate, they're all in the same category. They're all passengers. Pass through the security gate, each passenger will seek the gate which is appropriate for his destination. Some may have short flights, some may have long flights, some are domestic flights, some are international flights. But that destination was determined by that passenger before even he came to the airport, before he passed through that security gate. And he was determined that that's the destination he wants to go, and that's the path he pursues. That's the gate he goes. Each one of us have decided what we want to achieve, and we achieve those goals. It is not that opportunity was not available to us. Bhagavan said the everlasting bliss is an equal opportunity goal. Everyone can achieve the same goal. Everyone has the same capacity to achieve that goal. In physical world, I can say I only went to architecture school because I didn't get admission in medicine. Because there are limitations. In this limited existence, I have limitations, but as the self, I have no limitations. And Bhagavan therefore said, this opportunity is available to all. And you don't really have to find any particular means to achieve that. So in the next verse he says, whatever is available to you, patram puspam phalam toyam yome bhakta parayachari, whatever my devotee in the sense the one who has devoted himself to that goal. So I'm a devotee of achieving medical degree, then I'll achieve that goal. The one who has determined his goal to achieve this happiness and bliss, which is everlasting, he can achieve that by offering whatever is available to him. In other words, whatever my capabilities are, as a human being, I have limitations. I may not be a great yogi, I may not have all the knowledge, I may not have bhakti. But once whatever you have, patram puspam phalam toyam, whatever if you offer to me, to your goal of finding that everlasting bliss, once I accept it with love. Then Bhagavan gave us a technique how to achieve that ultimate goal of eternal bliss. Continue doing what you're doing, but whatever you do, you offer it to me. Yat karosi, yad asnasi, yad juhosi, dadasi, yat tapasyasi kavanteya, tat kurusva madarpanam. Do not consider that your life as an individual is different than the life of your pursuit of happiness. The life is nothing but pursuit of happiness. That's why this country's constitution says you have the right to life, liberty, in pursuit of happiness, not happiness. Happiness is something you have to achieve. But you can pursue your happiness. So while you're pursuing this happiness, you offer everything that you do to that goal of achieving happiness, to that ultimate goal of recognizing your true self, which has no limits. Tat kurusva madarpanam. So fix that goal and then offer everything to me. In other words, realize that you are enabled by that supreme self which is functioning through as your consciousness, which is enabling you to do everything that you are doing. The actions you are performing, things which you are receiving from the world, yad asnasi, what you are receiving from the world and enjoying. Yad josi, yad dadasi, and then what you give back to the world. All that you offer to me and not to your ego. So typically when we do things, we feel good about, I have done it. I perform these actions and I'm getting results. I'm a self-made man. I have built this career myself. I came to this country with $8. The people who came at my age, they were allowed only $8 foreign exchange from India. So we all came with $8 foreign exchange. You think that you have achieved all this, and therefore you are bound by your actions. But if you attribute all this to the supreme consciousness functioning through you, you could achieve all that because you're alive. If you're dead, you wouldn't have done any of this. So ultimately it is the consciousness which is enabling you to do everything that you do. Everything you receive from this world, everything you give back to this world, then why not give credit to this all-pervading consciousness and keep the ego out of the equation? So therefore Bhagavan said, keep your ego out of the equation. Offer all these actions directly to the source which is enabling you to perform these actions. And the result of that would be Subha asubha phalaha evam mokshase karma bandhanehi. So my real problem in life is I'm bound by my actions. Whatever I have performed in the past, I can't change them, and therefore I have to bear the consequences of those actions. As I commonly say, I went to architecture school, therefore I'm an architect. I can't change that overnight and become something else. I'm bound by my actions in the past, and I'll be bound by my actions in present, in future. So subha asubha phalaha, this result which I am receiving of my actions, which some are auspicious, some are conducive, and some are not so conducive. Something I intended to do something, it turned out to be something different. The results were not really what I was looking for. So that's asubha phala. So I'm bound by my actions, and therefore I'm bound by the results, whether they are conducive or not conducive to me. But once you get the ego out of the equation, because my ego is the one who decides whether it is good for me or not good for me. It is raining outside, whether it is good or bad, it is I decide as the ego whether that is good or not. So he said, once you keep this ego out of the equation and directly attribute all actions to the Supreme Self, that there is no one to receive these good or bad results. He is missing in action. Ego is not there to get affected by it. Therefore, he says, mokshashe karma bandhanehi, that will liberate you from this bondage of actions. Because one which is getting bound is the ego. That ego you have kept out of the equation. Sannyasa yoga yuktatma vimukta mam upaisyasi. Now we know that ego is part of my thinking entity. This mind, buddhi, chitta and ahankar. This thinking entity chitta has 4 aspects. Mind, which is constantly waffling. Buddhi, which is deciding factor. Chitta, which is chintan kartu, which is thinking. And ahankar, which is aham kartu, I am the doer, is the ahankar. With every thought I have this I in it. And Bhagavan said, once you get that I out of the equation, then you come sannyasa yoga yuktatma. Then your mind will become detached from all the actions. So sannyasa yoga yukta atma. Atma, the self which is steadfast in renunciation. Renunciation is doing the same thing except he is not getting affected by the results. So the sannyasa yoga yukta atma vimuktaha mam upaisyase. This sannyasa, we should remember what we learned in previous chapters. Giving up anxiety of the fruits of actions is tyaga, and giving up sense of agency that I'm the doer is sannyasa. Once I give up the sense of agency, I'm sannyasa yoga yukta atma. More and more I consciously think that I'm not the doer. That I'm only enabled by this consciousness to do things. Then I become more and more established in the thought that I'm not the doer. And therefore I become sannyasa yoga yukta atma. Once I establish in the thought of renunciation of my own actions, I become vimukta. I'm free now. Mama upaisyasi. He shall come to me. That person becomes one with the Supreme Self. Now myself which is acting and the Supreme Self is one in the same. So I have established that identification. That identification which was limited to this body, mind and intellect. I have liberated my identification from that limitation and identified with the Supreme Self which is all pervading. And so what is the nature of Supreme Self? Samaha aham sarva bhuteshu. It is not that my consciousness is very special and other people's consciousness is very common, of a garden variety type. Your equipment may be different. You may have a better radio, but the radio wave is the same everywhere. The self in me is same self in all beings that I see and perceive. So that self is similar, same to all. Samaha aham sarva bhutesu. I'm the same consciousness in all beings. Name desyo asti na priyaha. No one is despisable, no one is dear to me. In other words, consciousness does not make distinction that this guy is a thief, but I don't have a choice but to function through him. And this guy is a saint, and I really enjoy functioning through this. None of this is applicable to the self. Self is ever pervading, and this equipment are different. One is a saint and others is a dacoit. But it does not make any difference to the consciousness itself. So Bhagavan's I is the supreme consciousness, supreme self. I am same in all beings and none is despisable to me and none is dear to me. Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mahi te tesu cha api aham. But one who worships me with devotion, another one who identifies with me, one who makes sincere effort to attain that identification with me and gives up identification with this limited self. He said, I am in him and he is in me. So now again, this is a contradiction. In the beginning of the chapter, Bhagavan said, they are in me, but I'm not in them, and in reality, they are also not in me. I have no relationship whatsoever to things and beings. Now Bhagavan said, no. I am in him and he is in me, but the qualification here is one who is devoting himself to me. And the one who is identifying with me, he now will recognize that this supreme consciousness is functioning through me, and my consciousness is nothing but the Supreme Self. And therefore he says that he is in me and I am in him. When wave realizes that it is not a limited wave but the expression of the ocean, then the wave realizes that ocean is in me and I am in ocean. We are not different from each other. I am just part of the ocean. And therefore, ocean is in me. And I have no existence of my own without the ocean. And therefore, I am in the ocean. So it is just the change of paradigm for me. Right now, I consider myself to be unique in individual island. Now I'm saying I'm not unique. I'm just part of this same self. In the next verse, Bhagavad actually clarifies that this is an equal opportunity endeavor. It is available to all, irrespective of whatever my past is. So most of us get discouraged in pursuing any spiritual practice. I mean, like, all my life I've not done anything. I had been after money, I had been after position. What am I going to get even if I try so hard now? I may get something out of it, but not really the final destination, the final goal, which everyone talks about in every religion, the moksha, nirvana, jivan mukti. I cannot achieve that. Now, Bhagavan said that's not true. Whenever you make the resolve, it is good enough, and you achieve that qualification to achieve that final liberation. Api chet suduracharaha. Bhagavan said, even you are the best among the evil people. Sanskrit is a wonderful language. It puts su in front of durachara. One who is a durachari, who is performing evil actions, the su means is excellent at it. He is an excellent thief. I used to enjoy all the jewel thief movies in my younger years. So even we admire sometimes the people who are really good at what they are doing, even though it's all evil. So Bhagavan said, even if that person, bhajate mam ananya bhag, but once you decide that that's not my goal, I want to achieve that ultimate bliss. I want that permanent happiness. All my evil doings are not helping me. I want to achieve the permanent happiness and no other goal. Bhajate mam ananya bhag. That's the qualification. Without pursuing anything else, one who pursue me. Sadhu eva samantavyaha. As soon as he makes that resolve, he should be considered a good person, not a bad person anymore. Even though he has not achieved anything, which you can say that he has done good, but he has resolved himself that no more the life of this evil doing. I am now going to pursue the ultimate goal of achieving that infinite bliss, the happiness. From that point onward, he should be considered a good person, sadhu whoever, not a bad person. Bad person is behind him, has died, the new person has emerged, and he is a sadhu. He is a good person, he is a righteous person. Samyak vyavastito hi saha, because he has resolved rightfully. Now he knows the reality and he has resolved himself to achieve that. And therefore he should be considered a righteous person. In other words, this opportunity is available at any time in your life. It is available to anybody who is willing to pursue it, in spite of whatever has happened in his life before, whatever he had to do or he has done in past. But once he is resolved that this is the goal of my life, he should be considered a righteous person. The next verse will say how quickly he can become that. So We'll stop right here. If you find this podcast helpful, please support it by donating any amount by going to the episode's website at neilbhatt.podbean.com or at chinmayarichmond.org. Thank you. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.